nagbigay siya ng free version ng first episode na 13.
Yep.
Online. What a cool move.
Oo nga eh. Tsaka para dun sa mga tao na medyo gustong magkaroon ng background konti. Kasi ako rin nung una kong nabalitaan yung Netflix series bago yung comic. So, parang I appreciated it more nung binasa ko rin yung comic before. So, para dun sa mga tao na interesado. Tsaka nakita mo yung mga ginagawa nila na billboard.
Grabe, sa'yo ko actually nakita.
Grabe, no?
Sa ano mo, sa feed mo.
Ang galing lang talaga na parang...
Anong nakita mo?
Parang yung sinisira lahat.
Yung nag-vandalize?
Oo.
Galing, ano?
Tapos
Yung
sa Twitter... Ay, sorry, go ahead.
Yung nakita ko isa, may lumalabas na tao.
Oh, yun. Tapos ginaganon niya.
Ang galing.
Grabe, no? Alam mo, inisip ko nga parang... Yun yung parang naalala mo yung nag-guest tayo sa isang podcast last time na parang tinatanong tayo parang bakit hindi na-integrate or ganyan or whatever, ganyan. Yun nga yung sagot na parang si Netflix meron siyang budget. Funds, budget and budget. Anyway, meron siyang budget, so parang parang na-use niya na parang okay, let's do something like this, let's do something like that. So parang okay rin talaga yung art pag it doesn't have to be sa US, di ba? It doesn't have to be foreign. Basta pag may nag-back, tapos maganda yung idea, ang ganda talaga ng kinalalabasan nakakatuwa. Nakaka-proud rin na kahit hindi ako part of it, literally, parang being Filipino, di ba? Na parang, I'm sure that's what the Americans feel na, nakita niyo yung Avengers, tayo na, ganda nun, di ba? Parang, diba? Sa atin, ito, ganito, may ganito interactive ARP, parang ganyan.
Ang question ko ngayon, sinong ahensya yon? Because like, props to them.
Galing.
Sino Herbert ba?
Hindi ko rin, actually.
Kasi I saw Gigil posting a few parang teasers, pero hindi ko alam kung sila yung gumawa. Kung sila, galing nun, diba?
Oo.
Sino Herbert Hernandez of Gigil. But I saw them posting. Tapos, ano pa ba? Napanood mo ba yung kahapon, yung kalokohan ni Mayweather and nung YouTuber si Logan?
Hindi masyado. Although inaantay ko yung fight, pero hindi ko mahanap, hindi ko siya mapanood ng maayos. So, hindi masyado.
Pinapanood ka? Konti?
Sobrang konti lang. Although, I heard it was kind of okay rin na parang anyway, ano yung take mo?
Ako naman, may inaantay ko si Erica. She was working. Tapos lumabas sa feed ko, sa pinanood ko. Tapos inaantay ko, sabi ko, oh my God, ang laki ng discrepancy, pare. Parang...
Saan? Sa physical?
Physical, height, reach, weight. Parang 50 pounds yung discrepancy
Yeah.
So parang nagsuntukan kayo ni Jana. Diba?
Yeah.
50 pounds.
Hindi naman. Pero 5'8", 6'1" Siguro parang lang. Hindi naman babae, pero yeah.
Hindi, I mean yung weight difference. Yung weight difference ni Jana, parang ganun. And reach.
Yung reach nila, I think mas mahaba si Mayweather ng 1 inch.
Hindi pwede, parang.
Halos same yung reach.
1.5 talaga?
Oo. Yung reach halos same.
Haba pala ni Mayweather.
Oo. Tapos, yung height, 3 inches. Yung talo siya talaga yung weight. Na parang 40 pounds. 40 pounds on. Tsaka yung age.
I think on the day, 50 pounds yun
Tsaka yung age na parang...
Age, malayo 44. Yung 44 sa 20-year-old, di ba? Anyway, alam ko naman na exhibition siya and it's for the money. Ang hindi ko maintindihan at the start, kita ng butas nung amateur. Diba? Parang maaga na gas out Parang second or third round nag-gas out na si Logan Pero hindi siya pinapatumba. Sabi ko, ang daming counters na pwedeng gawin pero hindi pinapatumba ni Mayweather. And then I saw a cryptic Twitter post para sa sponsors. Kasi 'di ba promotions
Para
ni
daanan
Mayweather.
yung sa mat.
Para
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 makapag.
ano, para all 8 rounds, 'di ba, mahaba yung
Kasi,
coverage.
oh.
Sabi ko, business pa rin. So, kaya boring yung fight, 'di ba? Ini-extend niya lang for entertainment purposes kasi ni-pick apart niya lang pero hindi niya talaga pinapatumba, 'di ba? Wala
For
lang,
show lang.
nabaluyan lang ako. For show, pero hindi pa rin binigay yung show. Syempre gusto mo full show din, 'di ba?
Oo.
Anyway, kumusta NBA? Nagulat ako, hindi ako masyadong nagfa-follow, pero
Wala
wala
na
na.
yung
First
Lakers.
time yata wala na sa first round lead, wala sa first round. Wala na rin si favorite player ko ngayon si Luka eh. Na-knockout na din ata sila 'di ba?
Yeah, kanina. Kahapon.
Sino sinusundan mo?
Well, since Lakers yung tumalo sa Phoenix yung tumalo sa Lakers, medyo Phoenix ako ngayon.
Phoenix. Sino bang player ng Phoenix na?
Booker, to si Aiton.
Puro bago ano?
Oo,
Hindi ko
puro,
masyado.
actually yun yung parang kakaiba sa playoffs ngayon. Parang nakita mo nagsashine yung mga bata. Sobrang galing nila.
Kakita ko rin lang ng highlights ng Brooklyn Nets eh.
Wala yun si naman Harden. Matatanda.
Wala si Harden pero ang galing nila eh. Nag-step up si, ano pangalan nun? Yung dating Clippers. Si, galing I'm sure may sasagot sa thread natin. Anyway, may nabalitaan ako pare, recently lang. Dumaan din lang sa feed ko. Si Mariah Carey recorded an alternative rock album in the 90s.
Hindi
Akala ko
na-release.
parang ni-release.
Okay.
Ni-release. Hindi niya sinabi yung pangalan niya. Hindi niya sa Sony. Ayaw i-release. Noong una, to siguro fake news or diba, some clickbait thing. Parang ayaw i-release so pinapatungan ng iba pang singer. So bali si Mariah ang sumulat kasama yung producer and engineer niya kasabay ng album niya na platinum Diamond Award album. Pero hindi nila payagan ni-release. So pinapatungan nila sa friend din niya. Kalimutan ko yung pangalan nung. Pero syempre naging legendary bigla yung alternative rock na album na yun kasi backup vocals si Marox. So ngayon chart nag-chart yung album sa
talaga?
Kasi may physical album na lumabas na hindi pumenta obviously. May music video. Galing. Wala lang. Na-fascinate lang ako. Speaking of albums, dalawa yung narinig ko this week. Kahapon tsaka today. Kahapon, sound trip ko pare yung bago ng The Buildings.
Local yan no? The Buildings?
Local, yeah. Sina Mariah Carey,
Okay.
Actually, coincidentally, she was named after Mariah Carey.
Talaga.
Oo.
Okay.
And then, let's try to invite them on the next episode. Kasi type ko yung album nila. Tapos, I was working out this morning to our next guest's album.
Talaga?
Hindi bagay pang workout pero I only listen to music these days while driving or working out. So I wasn't driving this morning and I was like, getting the day started, parang we never talk about workouts but nakakatawa lang na ang sounds ng workout is yung album ni Reese. Sobrang ganda. Pinakinggan mo na rin ba?
Oo, napakinggan ko na rin.
What do you think?
For me, sobrang bihira yung magkaroon ng ganun ka-honed and parang very, yun nga, honed talaga yung naisip ko na parang mature yung sound, sobra na it's so simple kasi parang yun naman talaga yung malalaman mo kung kaano kagaling yung an artist, diba? Is like, Nirvana. Sobrang simple lang, 3 chords, ganun. Pero magically, nagiging it becomes more. So parang feeling ko ganun yung nangyayari sa akin when I listen to her album na parang yung yung quality ng voice niya dun pa lang satisfied na ako eh. 'Di ba? Parang yung dictions, how she says, how she sings it, parang ang galing lang na pinag-aralan na genius level. Parang ganun.
I have so many questions. Ang ganda. It was sung so well, recorded so well. Who the backup band was, who produced it, where they recorded it. Tapos I went into a rabbit hole, checked the YouTube page, and so I have many questions for Reese. And parang she's different from the last time I worked with her, which was mga I think 2 or 3 years ago from the Coke Studio.
Mm.
Mas reserved siya, mas shy siya.
Mm.
Tapos ngayon mas ibang-iba. So I don't know what happened. What's your intro? Let's do the intro. Let's see her. Let's meet her.
This week, we are joined by a singer, songwriter, visual artist, graphic designer, and fashion designer. Having won Wish Contemporary Folk Song of the Year for the song Opportunity to Go to the Moon, she now releases her new album called Time Well Spent. Please welcome Reese Lansangan.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi,
Good
Reese.
afternoon. Hi, sirs. Hi, Sir Rayms and Sir Daren. Oh my gosh. Ang ganda ng setup niyo.
Let's
Sige,
jump
sige.
right to it.
Sure.
We've been listening to your album and we're loving it.
Thank you
Separately,
so
of course.
much.
See, hindi naman kami kasama sa bahay, but I was
Mm-mm.
listening to it. And yeah, I haven't seen you since the Coke sessions, mga 2 or 3 years ago. That was a long time. And
Yeah.
this sounds completely different. The vibe is completely different. Tell us about your new album.
Thank you. It's called Time Well Spent and matagal na siyang I can speak in Taglish naman, di ba?
Yes,
Okay.
Bisaya, whatever.
Matagal na siyang in the pipeline. I was supposed to release this April 26, 2020. Before the pandemic hit, I had like a date, I had a location, venue, etc. But then the
Wait,
pandemic
wait.
happened. Yes.
Tell us about that.
Oh,
Why
okay.
April 26 and what was the original venue?
Sure. Okay. I like even numbers. That's a thing that I try to it's very ano, like walang apparent reason except I just like the roundedness of even numbers. So I tend to observe that for my releases, usually even numbers talaga. Like any even my album launch was December 6th. So parang like I like I don't know. There's something about numbers that I ano. And then my venue was supposed to be the venue of my first album launch, which was Green Sun also. And yun. Tapos na-stall siya because I had one more song to record na hindi umabot sa pandemic, nag-lockdown na agad. So sabi ko, okay, let's try to wait it out and see because we all thought it was gonna be a month lang or maybe 2 months, but then we're still here more than a year after. And I really wanted an event to go with the album release kasi parang holistic holistic event planning yung ginawa namin for this album, and I really didn't want to let go of the idea na sana magkaroon ng event and gathering where people can hear the songs live and people can experience the songs in a different context in a physical space. But then I realized na okay, the more that I postpone this a year after na that my plan was to release April 26th as 2021 na, the more I postpone it, it's just not gonna happen anymore. Kasi parang nagiintay ako sa wala eh. Wala namang kasiguraduhan yung anything in this pandemic. So I just decided to push for the release ng digital na lang.
So 21 is an odd number.
What?
21 is an odd number.
No. April 20. Oh, okay. The year. Wala
Yes.
eh. Hindi
Hindi mo
wala.
na inisip.
Hindi na.
It
Yung
is what
year,
it is.
yeah. Yung year parang outs na ako doon. Just
Kasi
the month
04,
and day.
04, 26, 20 dapat eh.
Yeah.
Diba?
Pero my first album was 2015. So it was also an odd numbered year.
So
Sobrang
pwede
tagal
din.
na, grabe. Yeah.
How did you make the album? Where did you record it? Who did
Mm-mm.
you work with? Did you have co-songwriters or who are the
Mm.
musicians in the album? It's played really well. It's
Sure.
recorded really. It's beautifully recorded.
Oh, Thank you so much. I'm so happy. I've always recorded where I recorded where I've always recorded. It's a Point B, multimedia, which is very close to my house, so super convenient for me to like pop in and record. Like all our favorite restaurants are just around kasi sa ano siya, sa Teachers Village. And then I worked with the same people that I worked with for my first album. It's more like a parang family and friends project for me. I love working with people that I trust. And so my co-producer for this album is Josh Villena, and he played most of the lead guitars there. And then some songs were co-produced by April Hernandez, or the Sun Manager, and Gaba Santiago.
Mm.
And then I had Miko Villena, brother of Josh, to play upright bass for one song, which is called Pocket. And then the rest would be just me and my guitar or my ukulele.
Who
So
played
no
drums?
co-writers. Oh, Gaba.
Oh,
Gaba played drums.
cool. We
Yeah.
had him, kailan ba Daren? We had him a couple of
Two
weeks ago.
the episode before budget.
Oh, yes.
Great. Oh my, he's a fantastic all-rounder talaga. What a
Sobra.
genuine guy. So I've also worked with him nung first album pa. So sila din yung parang full band setup ko. So parang dinala ko lang sila sa ano talaga, sa studio ulit. So sa Point B, and then
Who's
I
the
recorded.
engineer?
Oh, the engineer was Daniel Garcia, and then mixed and mastered by Aaron Gonzalez of Point B. So
Sounds
Daniel
great.
Garcia of Earth Mover.
Tapos, how do you present the songs to the band? Or
Mm,
do you record a lot of it at
like a
home
demo.
first, a demo, and
Mm,
then
mm,
flesh it out in the studio? Or
mm,
did you work in one studio with the band? It's like, I want it this way, or I want it this, and
mm.
whatever. Parang like a band
Yeah, yeah,
live,
yeah.
or do they just email stuff to you?
Well, all songs ever since the first album start and end with me in a way. Like the whole yung kabuuan, yung structure ng song, it's just me. So I don't have co-writers for that. But when I finish a song, I record it on my phone just as a voice note, or I would do a rough demo sa computer. And then I would, kasi magkapit-bahay kami ni Josh, eh. We live in the same village. So pre-pandemic, I'd invite him over, and then magpe-pre-prod kami dito, tapos with the drums papasa lang namin kay Gaba, and ito yung idea namin, pero most of the time I let him go free rein because I'm not good at yung pinaka weakness ko is directing drums. I have no idea how to like put it into terms, like what I want to hear. Lagi ko lang, sige, tugtog ka lang, tapos sabihin ko kung gusto ko o hindi. Parang ganun kasi I couldn't direct. So mostly like that, parang starts with emailing, especially when the pandemic hit na a lot of it was email based, maybe sending tracks back and forth and then layering all the stems in the studio. But for the earlier songs before the pandemic, na-record pa namin yan sa studio. So I'd record the bass track. If I am playing guitar on it and if I'm singing, I'll record that. Josh will record his electric guitar, and then we'll have the drummer come in. We'll have bass added. So and then in a different session.
How about the release? Parang you made it into a parang cryptic password protected site,
Yeah,
diba?
yeah, yeah,
Can you
yeah.
talk more about that?
Sure, of course. I am a huge fan of Taylor Swift, and she does that. Like she plays with a lot of parang those things, mga secrecy stuff that I really love as a fan. Like I love figuring that out. I love being a part of something that is not so accessible. Parang ganon. Parang you have to work for it in a way to be able to access it. So I out of my love for parang solving things or working for something for a reward, I password protected the like second album landing page, and I hid clues sa parang nagpost ako ng mga childhood photos growing up. Since the album is called Time Well Spent, the idea is parang ayun, taking your time and your journey to get to where you are. It's a long process of accepting your victories and your falls. And so I thought that the depiction of that, like the best depiction of that through social media would be me growing up through the years and then telling stories about me growing up and how I came to love music and how I got here. So that's what I did. I posted like 14 photos, and then each caption had a clue as to what my album title would be. So in the end, naglagay lang ako ng riddle, and then they had to figure out what the album title was. And yun yung magiging password ng website. So yun, a lot of people were frustrated, but a lot of people enjoyed the also like the chase of it, I guess.
How did you end up being so good in many fields? Parang you're a designer, you're a, 'di ba? Parang ang dami mong, you're doing so many things. So
Mm-hmm.
parang since you talked about growing up na rin, what was your background? How did you grow up, and how did you get into music?
My dad was the musician. Parang, well, he's not professional, pero he used to play the guitar and the sorry, the trumpet. And then, he would sing also. Musical yung family namin sa dad's side. So I grew up listening to a lot of old records because of him. I also grew up with him trying to train me how to sing. He at first he wanted me, or he was interested na like I get into performing arts like theater. He wanted me to do rep or something like that, but I was too young then. And then we got into a car accident when I was like 9 years old, and then we lost my dad dun sa accident na yun. So after that, I felt like music was the void that I have been missing. Kasi he filled our lives with music, and then all of a sudden, nung nawala siya, wala nang nag-initiate, yung guitar niya nandun lang. So I picked up his guitar and tried learning from the yung chord books and song books na naiwan niya. 'Di ba there are chord chart diagrams? Usually every song hits merong chord chart diagram. So I would try to follow that, and I taught myself guitar in that way. And then my mom saw it. Tapos in-enroll niya kami ng sister ko sa extension programs for classical music sa UP. That's what we did every weekend up until high school. And then yun, I just got into songwriting because of YouTube. Like the early days of YouTube, there were girls recording themselves in their on their webcams and performing their own original music. And that's when it clicked to me na shucks, pwede pala akong magsulat ng song. Because in my head, like all the OPM artists that I listened to when I was younger were bands that were mostly dominated by men. So feeling ko talaga that parang it never seeped into my consciousness that I could also be a musician, because di ako lalaki, wala akong connections. I was just a young person. I was just in late high school then. So yun, parang YouTube became the liberating platform for me to unlock that side of me na I can write music pala since I have a guitar, I have a webcam. Parang ganun yung naging way of thinking ko.
This is all very inspiring to me. Like it's a totally new entryway to
Mm-hmm.
music, diba? But
Mm-hmm.
speaking of your dad, that scarf behind you,
Yes.
your mom and dad are in it. Tell us
Yes.
about the scarf.
Sorry. Oh,
Hmm.
That
sorry.
take out the scarf and show us, tell us about it. It's very interesting. I saw you talking about it on in
Yes.
YouTube.
Thank you for watching that. Oh my gosh.
Hmm.
Well, the scarf is since I have a design. I have a background in design. I took up fine arts in college. Parang meron akong onting confidence na, "Oh, sige, magdo-drawing ako." I've always illustrated sa iba kong merch ever since I was starting out. And I'm not great, pero parang I've owned the crude art type of drawing. And so that's what I did for this scarf. I wanted this scarf to be a history of myself, parang just to map out where I've been, what are the like mundane and little things that make up my childhood memories. Because I'm the type of person who always like holds on to things like that. I love reminiscing, and it's important for me to look back. Feeling ko, I have a very strong sense of nostalgia. Even in my album, I have a song called VHS Aesthetic that calls back to the old things that we used to celebrate.
Wait,
So
did
ayun,
you
I
really
drew.
wait, Reese? Did you sample that
Yes.
intro? Or did you just
Yeah.
take it off the net?
Oh, no,
I
no, no.
hope you sampled
Diba?
it live.
No, 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 no. Wala na akong working VHS player, but hope sana nga.
When I heard it,
Mm.
when I heard it's like, is that a real tape?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wish, pero wala nang nag-work sa amin na VHS player. But
Okay,
I
okay,
took it.
sorry.
Sorry, like I ruined the illusion. Let's just say, let's just say, erase. But yeah, so I drew my photos with my mom and my dad. So this photo of me and my dad, kumakanta kami sa family reunion, and this is what we always did before. And sobrang shy kasi ako as a kid, in terms of performing. I was very bibo, pero pag magpo-perform na, parang naaano na ako, na nahihiya na ako kasi takot akong pumiyok, takot akong mapahiya, yung mga ganun. And ayoko yung parang fuss about, you know how titos and titos are like, oh, isa pa, ganun. Like, they do it in jest. I hated that. Pero natatawid kapag binibigyan nila ako ng 100 pesos, ganyan, para bribe. Diba? Para, oh, my heart will go on, bigyan kita 100 pesos. So, para ako, sige, sige, sige. Yan. So, yun lang yung katapat. Yun lang yung katapat for me. And then, my mom naman, at saka ako, tinuturuan niya ako mag-rollerblades. Siyempre, before uso yung mga ganun activities. Feeling ko it's, like what I've said in my YouTube video, it's a good representation of my mom kasi ever since we lost my dad, ako lang kasi tsaka my younger sister who's 6 years younger than me, she supported us since that happened, since the accident. So feeling ko siya talaga yung strong figure sa buhay ko na that showed me how to be tough, how to be resilient. Yun. And then a lot of this scarf has parang just childhood memories of mine, a lot of things that are significant, even parang diary entries that I wrote during the time when I was struggling to like write this album. Cause I'm sure like yung sophomore slump, like diba, that's a thing. Na after your first album, what now? Parang you don't know how to, or somehow you get crippled, and you don't know what to do, or you don't know if you're capable of doing what you were able to pull off by accident the first time. So I struggled with that, and also I wasn't happy with the things that I was writing early on in this process. That's why naging time well spent din yung album title ko, because I really struggled with my own quality of work. I felt like I wasn't doing myself justice, or yung pagkakilala ko sa sarili ko, I thought I was a capable artist, pero hindi pala. Parang I had a lot of self-doubt that I had to battle through to get to the second album.
Parang, I guess, yung parang imposter syndrome, no?
Yeah,
Parang may
exactly.
feeling. I guess everybody feels that. Para rin dun sa mga listeners, I guess, you know, even if you're going through, kahit series na experience rin yun, kahit na sobrang galing na niya, you know, I guess it's normal, di ba? Na parang people really feel self-doubt and stuff.
Exactly.
Speaking of, you mentioned your merch. Can you talk about your website, yung reeselansangan.com? Kasi parang of all the bands that I've seen, iba talaga yung website mo, and it feels like an interactive experience. Babalik lang si Rayms. So
okay, sure. The website, well, ayun, ako din yung nag-aayos ng website na yun. Pero yung shop ko, I have a friend helping me. Pero mostly, like, especially the smaller releases, like for example, single release, ako mag-upload nun, ako magsusulat ng copy doon, magte-take ng picture or mock-up, or a friend will help me do the mock-ups. It's very DIY kasi my approach to music naman has always been that way. I've never had a label, and I still don't have a label up until now. So yun, parang ako kasi, since I guess the design background, I'm coming from a design background, I've always paid attention to websites. I've always paid attention to what it looks like, what the experience is, and syempre the merch. I'm a person who loves merch. I love buying merch. I like also making the merch or conceptualizing the merch. And if we had the machinery lang and like the resources to go all out, 'di ba? Ang sarap gumawa ng kung ano-ano, sa totoo lang. Pero I'm just trying to navigate what's possible with our resources, and then I'm glad that you noticed the website, because I think that with social media, yun na yung parang website ng mga tao, eh, 'di ba? Like people just go
Default
to,
na. Oo.
yeah, people just
Okay
go
na
to
yan, may IG na
Instagram.
ako eh.
Yeah, and it's true kasi parang I think that not a lot of people expect people to have websites anymore naman talaga. Once you have Instagram, that's your portfolio, or like your way of
Calling card.
presenting. Exactly, yeah. So parang there's really no need for a website, but since I grew up making my own blog account, designing my own headers for all my blog accounts before on Photoshop. I learned Photoshop because I was designing my own headers for websites. I nabaon ko yung love na yun for that whole online homepage, that I think is parang Instagram is great and all, but I want an organized place to have some sense of identity and kaayusan in a way. Parang I really wanted to consolidate all my information in the website. Actually, sobrang hindi pa nga updated yung website ko. But it's just very tedious to do kasi you have to optimize your images, you have to resize everything, you have to, basta like it's not as easy as it looks, kasi parang ang simple lang pag tingnan mo, picture lang. But for me na hindi naman ako coder or what, it takes me like a whole day to fix the website. So
So,
parang
ikaw na rin mismo nag-encode? Ikaw na rin gumagawa mismo?
yeah, hindi talaga coding, because like the website that I have is they have built in parang tools to help you build it, pero I would be the one to build the structure and to map out the layout. Papa-check ko lang sa iba kong friends na kung with the second album I have an art director, si Pao Chu. So we worked on that together, na parang, wait, ito yung layout ko, or ito yung iniisip ko, like, nire-refine na yung layout ko kung paano namin gagawin. And so, sa shop, I also have a person who helps me sa web shop, my college best friend. So,
my internet died, so I'm upstairs. Okay.
Actually, mas mabilis na ito eh. Anyway.
Ano?
Mas malinaw yung LTE. Lakas ng signal. Anyway.
Sorry. Yes, you were talking about sophomore slump.
Yeah. So yung I was afraid of not living up to my own idea of myself when I first made that album, the first album, which was Arigato Internet, and also the expectations of other people. Parang you can't help but factor that in, since your personal music is being shared with other people, and it's now like a communal thing that like people listen to your music because they want to feel a certain thing. So parang you can't help but think about that also. And I was scared na hindi ko na magagawa yun, that I can never write songs that I'm happy about, mga ganong kadramahan. Because it feels that way when you struggle with it every day, na parang inupuan mo to tapos nagsulat ka, pero at the end of the day hindi maganda yung kanta, or you're not so happy with it. Parang it feels like it would never end, that you'd never have a good day again. That's what I felt. So I struggled with that for a long time. And then di ko lang namalayan na I had a collection of songs na pala that I was happy about. I was just punishing myself because of the daily grind that felt so long. So that was my experience the second album, and that's why it was called Time Well Spent. Because I had to be kind to myself. Na it took me 5+ years now to get to the second album, na wala namang, di ko naman inakalan darating tayo sa ganito katagal na paghihintay. But then, here we are, and wala naman naghihintay ng album ko eh. Iniintay lang nila na maging masaya ako sa output ko, and na maging siya, like na maging happy ako about what I'm gonna put out.
So what did you learn? If you were going to tell yourself parang 5 years ago, what would you have told yourself to break through? What did you learn how did you break through that way of thinking that was bugging you to make the second album?
I think it's still here in me. I think that part of me that's parang makulit and very adamant, demanding perfection, demanding productivity. It's still here, and I still battle with it even after the second album. Like ngayon, hindi ko masyadong ma-allow yung sarili ko to rest. Feeling ko, shucks, ano pang gagawin? Shucks, ano pang... Kasi nga sobrang DIY artist ako. Like, I have a small team. I don't have a label. So, I'm always looking for things to do. And I feel like there's always something to do. And may hindi pa ako nagagawa. So, I really need to let that go a bit. I need to relax and also know when I've done enough. When I can chill. Siguro if I am gonna if I'm gonna advise my 5 years ago self, I'll probably just say, alam mo, if you have a bad day today, marami pang darating na bad days. And it may seem like an eternity that you're punishing yourself na shucks, hindi maganda yung kanta ko today. Pero it will add up eventually. Just keep on showing up for the craft, and then you will have good days also. Ganun lang naman yung gulong ng palad eh. So I just wanna say to myself na may bad day ka ngayon, darating pa yan, marami pa yan. Pero be okay with it kasi may good days din na paparating.
The modem in the intro caught me off guard. Does it have a connection from the first album?
Yes. Parang it's my way to say goodbye to it. And I think it's very self-explanatory naman. I don't know if I didn't intend for it to be like a mystery or something. And I know that it could be off-putting kasi it's the intro eh. Tapos hindi man lang siya kanta. It's very jarring, diba? And especially sa mga younger kids now na nakikinig, I'm sure they don't know what the heck that was. But to me, it's to bid goodbye to that arigato internet era, which was very anchored sa idea of making connections online and being on the internet. The aesthetic of that era was very pixely, very, ayun nga, computer-esque. So I wanted to say goodbye by trying to connect to the internet, but then somebody picks the phone up and dials a number. Diba? When you're trying to connect to the internet, tapos may nag-pick up ng phone, mawawala yung internet mo eh. Dapat nga sisigaw pa ako eh, na parang, basta dapat may sisigaw pa ako na yung phone or something like that. But hindi bagay dun sa ano eh. So, yun na lang. Like, I cut it off by like picking the phone up and then dialing a number.
Nung na-cut off ka, Rayms, nabanggit ko nga na sobrang ganda ng website tapos parang it seems like it's such an interactive experience. So, gusto ko lang tanungin, Reese, how important is it na you just not make music but you also make like merch and also like tangible products and experiences, diba? And you're also building the community of listeners. So how important is that? Kaysa, just making music, putting it up on Spotify?
That's a great question kasi I feel like that's something that I've always been aware of. Siguro I just put myself in the shoes of me as a fan. I'm a fan of a lot of artists. I love buying merch of artists. I love having physical albums. So never ko nilet go yung idea na yun na parang like, nilulungkot kasi ako kapag kunwari binalikan natin yung kunwari may mga anak na tayo in the future, yung iba meron na. Kunwari may anak na in the future, tapos sabihin ko, yung mga pinapakinggan ko, ito yung Spotify playlist ko. Parang wala akong mabigay na object na, ito yun. They're just digital like letters on the screen. So I've always held on to that. Like nalulungkot ako na parang CD plants here, wala na. Pero trying to like make workarounds kasi ako fan ako ng K-pop ever since 2008. So matagal na cultivation yun for me. Yung conditioning ko na I'm always buying something from them because of my love for them. I want to support them. I want to surround myself with items that remind me of them because they also push me to grind. Parang, like, inspiration ko din sila because they work so hard and they make so many people happy. So yung ganun kong mentality as a fan, nadadala ko as an artist, I guess, na important for me yung merch because I know that I love having merch and I want to give them quality merch that na pinag-isipan. Kumbaga, may t-shirt kami pero hindi ko album art yung nakasalpak diyan. Parang may I mean, to some people it works, lalo na sa mga bigger artists. Nag-work yun kasi simple lang yung gusto ng tao eh. Pero I guess mas nakilala ko lang yung klase ng taong nakikinig sa akin or taong na bumibili ng merch ko that appreciate a bit of um I guess mga Easter eggs or parang throwback or callback to certain concepts. That's why I really parang very particular ako even with the fabric or the color of the t-shirt na sobrang na-delay yung production namin dahil sa kulay ng t-shirt. Even yung I released a shirt sa shop ko, yung Time Well Spent shirt. They did a first run of that. Sobrang mali yung color. So what I did was I took my acrylic paints and I mixed the exact colors that I wanted on the shirt. Pinadala ko sa kanila via courier para magaya nila yung saktong shade kasi mahirap ngayon in the pandemic na hindi mo siya mabantayan. So you have to make sure na yung margin of error lumiliit. So yun, pinadalan ko sila nung paint swatches na naghanap pa ako ng Pantone swatches for that. Anyway, yun, important for me nabuo yung experience because as a fan, that's what I'm looking for. And I think that I've conditioned a lot of my listeners to expect that from me na rin. So di na sila nagulat na ano ba yan? May password pa kulong. Ano ba to? Ba't mo pinag-iisip? Parang ano na siya eh. It's part of the experience of unlocking something. Especially a second album release, which is for me big. An album is big. And I put 14 songs there. So, di ako nagtipid, kumbaga sa kung ano ibibigay ko sa kanila. And I know I just trust that somehow I'll make more songs in the future and I can put more songs into the third album eventually.
The scarf is one of the coolest merch I've ever heard of. What made you think of the scarf? There's usually like t-shirts, tote bags, pins, and everything you talked about in VHS, the song. But what made you choose the scarf?
Yeah, for me kasi the scarf is like it's multi-functional nga. You can make it into your bandana, your headband, your tube top kung resourceful ka and daring ka, a makeshift shawl. Like it can take on many forms and it's just a piece of cloth essentially. Pero it can transform to many things depending on how you want it to transform or how you need it at the moment. So for me, may ano yun eh, like may magic yun na you can take this thing and transform it into however you want. It's like music also na what I'm writing may be different from what you're hearing. Yung intention ko sa pagsusulat ng orbiting kunwari could mean a totally different thing to a person who's undergoing something completely different. So the meaning is malleable once it's in the middle of once it's out there, parang ganon. So I think the scarf is a good representation of that na hey, take this. And also protection siya. I mentioned this also sa explainer video ko on YouTube. It's protection in a way, parang immediate protection. You can shield yourself from like the outside world. If you want in cold, you can wear a scarf. And then if you're cold, you can wrap it around yourself. So in a way, for me, songs are like that. I have had a lot of albums and songs that have saved me when I was really down. And yun yung mga pinapakinggan ko habang umiiyak. Parang protection siya for me in a way that I get to release my emotions because somebody else is parang translating it for me and I'm just absorbing it and I'm crying. And songs have always been that for me na may healing power talaga siya. It's restorative. And yun, para siyang, the scarf is like a banner, a flag, a representation of this era and me as a person. That's why ang daming personal details din dito sa scarf, because it's my way of also sharing my history with people who want to take part in it in a way.
Daren and I usually have a playlist for some of our guests. Please make us a playlist. But before that, tell us about the songs that help you. Like your go-to songs, parang like what you said earlier, parang that gives you protection, that gives you strength, that gives you inspiration. Tell us those albums, maybe 5 or 10. Whatever,
wow,
like
oh my
off the top of your head. Like,
on the spot, sobrang nahihirapan ako sa mga ganitong tanong. Pero one song that really makes me feel emotional is For Good from the Wicked musical. It's a conversation between Glinda and Elphaba. And for me, para siyang a song of sisterhood and family, na every person you meet has an impact on you, be it small or big, be it temporary or not, like temporal lang sila sa buhay mo. They change you for good. So that's one song that I go to and parang listen to reaffirm myself na kahit even if people come and go in my life, they have changed me for good. Whether it's, alam mo yan, whether they stay or they go. I love Stop This Train by John Mayer. It reminds me of my mortality, my parents' mortality, and the importance of parang, I guess it captured the feeling of parang the fear of death and the fear of growing up, growing old, and leaving behind or having the feeling of death a lot in my songs. I always have that fear, especially since my dad passed away very sudden when I was young. It's always been ingrained in me. Parang I'm super hyper aware of my mortality. So in my songs, you can hear that common thread in a way manifesting sa mga lyrics ko. I always have that fear. So that's a go-to. I love Blackbird by the Beatles. That's also another comfort song of mine. Ang dami pa eh. Regina Spektor's Far album, one of my favorite albums ever. She talks a lot about faith in this song in this song of hers called Laughing With, and she talks about parang how it's convenient to believe in God or to believe in a religious a religious figure if you're suffering or if you're going through something. Pero pag happy-happy ka lang, hindi mo naman, parang kakalimutan mo. And that's a powerful song to me as I am navigating my own relationship with my faith and how I deal with problems also on my own. And A Fine Frenzy's A Bomb in a Birdcage, one of my favorite albums of all time also. It's a powerful memory of me in my last year of college. I was listening to that on repeat during my 4th year college, and feeling ko it's an album that brings me back to the endless possibilities as a fresh graduate. Parang where can the world take me now? So those albums and songs give me a lot of hope and feel good feels.
When you go back to playing live after this pandemic, who do you see as your band, and how do you see performing these songs live, like with all the vocal harmony layers? Are you gonna get somebody to sing it, to sing the other parts for you, or are you gonna do playback of yourself or use your looper? How do you see it? What's your vision?
I always parang mas important sa akin yung synergy ng band kaysa sa, I don't know if this is controversial, it might be, kaysa sa parang, the best possible performance I can put out with all the bells and whistles. So I still keep my original band, my friends, Joshua. Before I belonged to the Zoo or RG became like mainstream hit, he was my bass.
Yeah, all-star band.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That bassist nagbe-brace siya for me. Pero, ayun, I still bring in definitely the people who've been with me since day one. I'm so lucky na pinauunlad pa rin nila ako. So they have their own things. They're smashing it in their own career paths and in their own music. Pero I'd love to bring them back because they were the first people who trusted me and who I trusted with my music from the first album. Sila din yung banda ko nung album launch. Ever since talaga. So I want to bring them back. I always use my vocal harmonizer to back myself up. And so that's still very much a part of my arsenal in the live sessions. I would love to have the audience sing along with me. I think there are a couple of songs that would be fun to parang give them parts and then have them sing it back to me. I would love that. I think I'd like to experiment with that na parang mala Ed Sheeran type na
Call and
hahatiin mo
response.
yung yeah. Oh, that's the term. Okay, yeah. Parang ganon. I think that's a good way to bring them back in, the audience in. For my song Grammar Nazi for Arigato Internet, usually I call somebody to do the rap verse for me kapag nafe-feel ko yung crowd na may energy and merong willing gumawa. I call somebody up on stage. I feel like that's something that I want to do too sa like when we get to do live gigs again. I wonder when that would be, but hopefully sooner than later.
How about yung advocacy mo for reading? Aside from music, meron kang advocacy about it. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. Wow, you guys research. I love it. Thank you so much. I'm so honored. Yeah, I've always loved reading as a kid. And I really want to do more in terms of my advocacy nga. So far, I've only, well, aside from pushing reading to people through book clubs, I've partnered with Fully Book twice to like have a book list that to encourage more people to read. Pero syempre this is still limited because it requires you to either buy a book or borrow a book, and not everyone has that access. And I wanna yung vision ko talaga is to extend that advocacy to people who really do not have access to learning materials or who have limited access to learning materials. When I won the Wish Awards Contemporary Folk Song of the Year in 2020, I won like 100,000 pesos to give to my chosen charity, and I chose Adarna Books because yun nga, I strongly believe in books being very transformative for a child. If you get into books early on, na-form yung worldview mo and you get to be opened up to different ways of life, and you see the possibilities of where you can go, what you can do for yourself and for the world. So I really believe in the power of books. And yun, ang nagawa namin before the pandemic, nakapag-distribute kami ng books and educational materials sa victims nung recent Taal eruption noong 2020. So I'm really happy that my music somehow made that happen. Just because I wrote a song, it got awarded. Buti na lang, like there are channels for that na bibigyan ka ng money to be able to donate it to a charity you support, and it makes me feel more involved sa aking advocacy. And I would really love to do more and extend myself more. I just need to find the proper channels to be able to do that. But I'm happy that somehow my music made that happen in a way.
Are you a one book kind of reader or several books at a time?
Oh, I used to be a one book kind of reader, but as I grew older, several polygamous sa books. Kasi there are times na parang I'm not vibing with a book, pero I still want to finish it, or I want to jump right into another book. Sobrang ako, like ganun ako, and hindi ako nag-hesitate to buy a new book if I find something interesting. Yun yung number one vice ko talaga, like over purchasing books. Like,
what are you reading right now?
I'm reading Fun Home right now by Alison Bechdel. I just picked it up. I've had this for years, but I just picked it up kahapon to the bay as a break from all the album promotions. So Alison Bechdel is the woman behind the Bechdel test. Are you guys familiar? I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. Pero for the listeners who aren't, it's parang the test na pag may dalawang women on screen sa film or whatever, parang for a certain period of time, dapat mapag-usapan na nila a topic that's outside of men. Parang ganon. Parang dapat mapag-usapan nila anything other than men within like a certain time frame, and they pass the Bechdel test. So it has roots in feminism and stuff. So this is a good memoir, and it's also about her dad, and it's about her being a lesbian and coming out and the death of her dad. So parang very much tied sa story ko in terms of losing my dad early.
So we will not only ask you for a music playlist, we'll ask you for a book list.
Oh yeah, sure.
You will be our first
actually,
guest na may
maganda
book
yun,
list.
maganda yun. Ganda
I
nun.
love that. I love that. Okay, sige. Book list. Well, I would recommend for people who love nonfiction, and sobrang sumikat naman na rin siya last year. Gia Tolentino's Strict Mirror. She's a Filipino Canadian, I believe. Basta, she's ethnically Filipino, I think. Full Filipino. And she's a New Yorker writer, New York Times writer. Sorry, like the facts, I'm not so sure. Pero she's a prominent writer. And she came out with a collection of essays sa Trick Mirror that tackles the millennial, parang medyo in a millennial eye. Sobrang interesting nung topics niya. Meron siya about the rise of exercising. And then meron siyang yung scams of the millennium, including the Fire Festival, including Varsity Blues. Meron siyang about reality TV. Meron siya about the internet and your relationship with it. So interesting. Meron din siya about like Trump and like elections and stuff. It's so interesting. It's so good. I would recommend it to anyone who's just woke, I guess, or very, very much, or who wants to learn about social issues. Very funny, very, very well written. So Gia Tolentino's Trick Mare. I would also recommend In the Country by Mia Alvar. That's a collection of short stories by another Filipino. I think Phil Am this time. And I just love short stories. It's one of my favorite things to read. I love escaping through vignettes. So support Filipino women writing. Ano pa ba? What would I recommend? I read nung like a few months ago yung Sapiens, pero the graphic novel version of it. I'm sure if anybody frequents a bookstore, you would have seen Sapiens by Noah Harari, and my graphic novel version of that, so it's more digestible. Kasi the Sapiens is about the evolution of the human race, and how we've started from our ancestors up until today, and it's more digestible that way because it's friendly, may illustrations, and pero it's still condensed. It's still packed with a lot of information. What else? One of my favorite books, Little Women, by Louisa May. Very classic. May outdated ideas of being a woman, women's roles that the 2019, the Greta Gerwig adaptation was a bit more apt for a girl. Very traditional. I have very traditional values, I guess. So I relate a lot with Little Women, and it's what I want from it. Yung mga outdated, parang women in the house, homemaker kind of idea. Siyempre, I set us in just time nila yun, yung time nila before. But it's born, yung heart nila, yung heart to serve, and the heart to themselves, and for their something love. Kasi family is very important for me also. Lastly, one of my favorite childhood books, like I got obsessed with this in high school, A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. This is a middle, pero layers to appreciate it as an adult, and that's how my secret codes and passwords and IDs. That's where I parang picked that up from. So that's one thing I would recommend if there's anyone listening na my age. If you haven't explored that, there's also a Netflix series that they made that's excellent by Barry Sonnenfeld. So please check it out.
Reese,
Yeah.
thank you for spending your time with us. This has been inspiring. And
Thank
congratulations on the new album, Scarf, everything, holistic project. Your dad and mom are proud. Very, very.
So
have a good week.
Guys, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Bye!